Okay, this is my 2014 Triumph Bonneville T100. It's a pretty bike. I'm stoked about it. So here's what we're doing today. Last time we put on the Norman Hyde togas. We pulled out the airbox baffle, and we did a couple other things. Now, we had broken our original headlamps, or our turn signals rather, so we put these turn signals on. The problem is that they don't allow space for the key. So if I had the key, you put it in, you can't, if these are flat, you can't turn the key. So we ordered a whole bunch of new parts today. We're gonna replace the headlight bracket. We're gonna put on a aftermarket bracket here. We're gonna move these down as well. We're gonna move the rectifier bracket down here. We're gonna take these off. And we're gonna drop this down and move the key up here. So let's get started. Okay, so the first step is to remove the headlight. We're gonna move this rectifier bracket first. We have a Motone bracket that we're gonna mount. It's gonna go down here just above the horn. So the first thing we're gonna do is take off the headlamp. There is a little screw here and there's a little screw over here. You just pop those two off and that glass piece will come forward. It's always recommended you throw something soft down on your fender so you're not scratching it up. So let's go ahead and get that. So we pop these two little screws off. Here's the headlight bracket. We're just gonna go ahead and disconnect the headlamp and move it out of the way so that we can deal with this whole mess that's in here. We're gonna be working here a lot as we move the turn signals and move the rectifier bracket. Now, I'm an idiot, so when I put these new turn signals on last week, I didn't buy the British Customs or the new Bonneville turn signal bracket. Instead, I hard spliced them. So today we're going to replace these with some clips, with some plugs as well. Just because I'm a dummy, so we're going to fix that too. So go ahead and pop off that headlamp and get ready to dive into this rat's nest. Point one more thing out about this. I see a lot of recommendations that when you're removing the headlamp, you pull it out here by this bulb. I'd rather keep all that together and just use this disconnect that's further up. That's your own preference, but I think if I'm going to be working in here, I'd rather have that bulb stay in the headlamp. So this, I just wanted to stop and show you. So I went ahead and disconnected the headlight from the brackets. And once you pop those out, those are I think 12 millimeter bolts. Once you pop those out, then these will move free. Now, because I had messed up the wiring on the turn signals, I went ahead and disconnected them. You can see there's a red tape around that one. That's my right turn signal. So when I go back to wire these up, I'll just remember that the red tape is wrapped around the right turn signal. So I'm just going to go ahead and pop these off and just pull the whole turn signal out of this headlight assembly, just to give me a little more space to work as I work on relocating everything. Where are we at now? I went ahead and disconnected the rectifier from the plug on the inside and pulled it in through the back. There's not a lot of space in there, but there's enough to get what you need out. Now I'm just going to kind of leave this hanging for now. We're still going to have to go back in there a few times, but now it's time to pop this rectifier off. These are just 8 millimeter bolts. We're going to take that off and then work on moving it down there. It should be probably the easiest thing of the day. All right, so real quick, we popped this rectifier off of that bracket there. Now those are threaded, so I'm going to put these bolts back in there. I don't want to lose them. I might want to use this someday in the future, and I want to keep these bolts in there. So I might put a little bit of Loctite on there and just stick them back in there and cinch them down for later. Okay, you missed some stuff, but this has been covered several times on Del Boy and Stewart, several other ones, but basically all you got to do is pop off this bolt that holds on the horn. Then you move the horn down here, you twist around the wires on the back of the horn so that they're facing up. Then you bolt everything to that Motone bracket, which I buried now, and then you pop it back up here. Now and then I threaded this thing back up. We'll stick it back in the headlamp when we're done. I like to keep this cable on the outside. I guess some people stick it on the inside. I don't know how or why you would do that. And then I said the horn's down here. Now the horn cables, I don't know if you can see this. Let's see if we can get in there. You can't really see it. But they kind of got pushed up against this rectifier and bent a little bit. So when I turn everything up back on, I'll just make sure that the horn still works. Yeah, so that's the rectifier. And we're already starting to get a little bit of a cleaner front end there. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to toss a towel up on top of the tank here. And we need to break this loose so that we can lift this whole handlebar assembly up and out of the way, so that we can slide these bad boys off and slide the new ones on. So let's get to work on that. So this always seems to happen to me. I'm home alone. Got all my shit out. Everything's out. Bike's all tore apart. Got the dogs. Got all the tools in the back. Right. Got everything I think I need. Borrowed this torque wrench from O'Reilly's, and then I go to pop off this steering yoke. I remember that there's these pinch nuts here. Well, that's a big ass Allen key and hex key, whatever. I don't have it. So, yeah. Any of you have one you can run over real quick? Because I could use it. But in lieu of that, I guess I'm going to have to throw everything back inside the house, lock it up, run over to the store, and buy myself a hex key set. It's big enough to fit in there to pop those pinch bolts off. So we unscrewed this nut. That once you break it loose, it comes off pretty easily. Got to remember to take off that little washer. Then you have to loosen these up, and then this whole assembly will just pop right up, and then those will slide right off. But it looks like I gotta go get a new tool. So yeah, I'll be up on where we're at. So I had to run to Harbor Freight and get a hex set. I had to get a giant hex set so I could get that open. So I popped. All you do, it's pretty easy. You take these pinch bolts off of either side. You don't have to take them all the way off. You just loosen them up. I took this off with a torque wrench and a 30 millimeter. Oh, it's in the front, but a 30 millimeter socket that I rented from O'Reilly's for free. So basically, you can go to O'Reilly's Auto Parts and you can rent the torque wrench and the socket for free. They charge you for it, but then they'll give you the money back and you return it within 48 hours. So you just take that off, you loosen those, and then you pull this whole handlebar system off, and then you can just slide off the old ones. So here's the new ones, solid billet. They look pretty cool. So we'll get those mounted up in a little bit. I popped off the ignition from the old ones, and now I'm going to replace this before we mount up the headlamp and the turn signals. So the next thing we're going to do is unscrew these 4 bolts here, pop those off, and then set the new one in. Shouldn't be too difficult. Be back where we're at. So we pulled off the old bracket. Just these 4 bolts in here we're holding it in. So we pulled off the old one. This is the new one. It's not tightened down yet. As you can see, I think this one's from British Customs, is where I ordered it from. But it's got these long spacers here, and I guess that's where the ignition goes. I don't know what these extra bolts are. So maybe that's for I don't know, maybe it's if the Thruxton's ignition bracket mounts different or something. I'm not sure. But I'm just going to tighten those down so that way I don't have any holes in the top and it just looks nice and clean. If these are supposed to be for something else, I'd love to know. So I love this though. It's so it looks so much better than where it was already. So we're gonna get these cups mounted back in. Make sure you keep the rubber gaskets from your old one because they're gonna go back in here. And then the simple plugs on the gauges, and then we'll get this wired back up, and then we'll start working on mounting the headlight and rewiring the turn signals. So that's where we're at. Bit of an asshole. I just wanted to finish, so I stopped recording. But here is the almost final product. We mounted up a little fly screen that I got off of eBay for 25 bucks. There's the flat gauge mount with the key. I love it. And still need to tighten up the loose bolts here that I don't know what they're for. Still need to tighten those up a little bit. Everything else is mounted beautifully. These are not Motones or British Customs. They're just off eBay, or Amazon rather, for $20, but I think they look really nice. I did forget to take off, there's a little gasket here that was part of the old headlight bracket. I forgot to take that off. The turn signal bracket that I got, I hated, so I didn't even mount those. I ordered the Motone bracket that mounts there, so I'm gonna get that. Once I get that, then I'll mount up those turn signals. So for now, here's what we got. I really dig it. I think it looks a lot cleaner, looks a lot slicker, looks really nice. The only other things I want to do to the front end are, I keep going back and forth on whether or not I want to take these off and switch them with a fork guard. I want to change the handlebar for a tracker bar, or one of the Biltwell tracker bars, I think. And then I think I'm done with the front side. I really, man, I like that cheap ass fly guard. Looks good, right? Yeah. So sorry I skipped a bunch of the stuff. There's that rectifier mount. Make sure you've got enough slack when you turn the bars back and forth, so that it's not getting hung up on anything. Damn, just looks good. Just looks good. Cool. Let me know what you think.